everyone, this is Robin and we're here with Dr. James. We're chatting about her businesses and something fun and exciting that she's been doing. So you would have seen her at Dragon's Den and we get to actually hang out with her today. So thank you for having us.
You're most welcome.
So you were talking about business. So tell us, you were in Ireland.
Yes, so I'll tell you how that came about. I was working for Dole Food Company as a senior manager in corporate quality assurance in California.
Yeah, right.
And I wanted to get European work experience in my field. I had worked in the US for about 9 years. So I had asked Dole if they would transfer me to the European branch, and nothing materialized there. So I decided to send out my own resumes to companies based in the UK to do a similar job. And it so happened that an Irish food company spotted my resume and they asked if I wanted to interview for a position of technical manager in their Dublin office. And I agreed. I said, yeah, sure. So I had a telephone interview and then they asked me to come to Dublin. They paid all expenses for me to come to Dublin for a face-to-face interview. And I was hired right there on the spot. They gave me just 3 months to relocate from California to Dublin, and somehow I was able to do it, sell the house, sell the car, just pick up and move.
Right.
So when I worked for them for a short while, I discovered that, I was a bit bored. It wasn't exactly what I expected. And I started to think about doing my own business, and I was a bit distracted and I got fired from the position. The next week
Don't get distracted at work.
The next week I launched my business. I had spotted a gap on the Irish market for Caribbean food. I'm from the Caribbean originally, and I had never seen Caribbean food in small shops, in supermarkets or anything like that. So I thought, why not start a business promoting Caribbean food in Ireland? I would be the only one doing it.
Exactly.
And so at the time, this was 2006 in Ireland, the economy was booming, people had disposable income, and they were willing to try different types of food at that time. So I started with the Dublin City Enterprise Board, which provided a lot of services for women in business, and there were a lot of grants available, either in mentorship, partly supporting your business, a lot of mentoring and training. That is where the emphasis was. So even though I was trained as a food scientist and had no business background, I was able to avail of all the services that were just given to people who wanted to start small businesses. So I got a lot of assistance. I joined a women's business network that was managed by the Dublin City Enterprise Board at the time, and there was a lot of camaraderie with all the women who were starting their businesses, many types of businesses, and they would tell me, okay, you should sell your products here, sell your products there. At the time, a lot of what they call farmers markets popped up. They were none of us were farmers. Nobody was a farmer, but we just had.
But it made it look like it.
We all had unique items for sale. Like some did handmade jewelry or clothing, with ethically sourced material, and everybody had a unique offering. And so a place where you could actually sell with limited, I'd say, investment in terms of rental fees and all that. Once a week you do one venue, another week you do another venue, but you didn't have to put out a lot of money to rent a space. And then what I liked about these so-called farmers markets, they were markets really, but they were great for feedback, because the consumer would tell you right away if they like your product or not, and what to change about it. And so I was able to learn from the other traders and from the consumers on the spot.
All right. So that's wonderful. On the, how did you get to the Dragon's Den part? What was
I'll tell you, I started my business by importing food products through traders in London, UK. I figured out how to ship a pallet full of mixed products, cookies and sauces and cooking books, all sorts of things. I would ship a pallet from London to Dublin and resell at events, special events, farmers markets. And then I even attempted to do wholesale, right, by visiting shops that had a wealth of products from different countries, and just getting them to carry my products too. And then one of my suppliers, who was based in Jamaica, making sauces and spice blends and all, they stopped making their product suddenly, and I had no product to sell. And I thought, I have a food science background. I'm a food scientist. I know how to manufacture products.
Right.
I mean, I worked at different manufacturing facilities in the past. Why not make my own?
Exactly.
So I started making my own products. I had to develop a brand. So the initial brand was Taste of the Caribbean, and I got assistance for the design and label designs. And I started making my own sauces and dry spice blends under the brand Taste of the Caribbean. So after selling for about 2 years at different events, the Dragon's Den program popped up on Ireland. It really started in the UK and then was franchised to other countries, including Canada. And a lot of my customers would tell me, "You'll be great on Dragon's Den." And I just say, "Oh, be quiet, please.
I love it.
You'll be great on Dragon's Den." So many of them were telling me this. And at the time, as I mentioned, when my supplier went, if they went out of business for a while, I developed my brand, then I changed the brand name.
Yeah.
There was one particular sauce, Bad Boy pepper sauce, that was selling a lot, and people seemed to like that. And so I thought, why not use the brand Bad Boy sauces? So I rebranded.
No, I love it.
And so I went on Dragon's Den with my Bad Boy sauces, and it was a unique adventure.
You're right.
Even though I was terrified, I was prepared by a good friend of mine who's also an entrepreneur. Most of my friends are entrepreneurs. Right? And we supported each other. So my friend helped me to prepare the figures, because that's all the dragons are interested in, how they are going to make money. So I got some good preparation from one entrepreneur who had been on the Dragon's Den in 2009. She helped me with my pitch. And focus and the facial expressions that you have to use and all that, because it's a bit of acting.
Of course.
And then in the background, you have to know your figures. So another entrepreneur helped me with the figures and the preparation. And so I went on the program. It was quite a nerve-wracking experience, because as the entrepreneur, you have no support. The dragons are in front of you and the camera crew, and that's it. The camera crew asks participants to sign a contract saying that they are just interested in filming for entertainment. And any contract you make with the dragons outside of the program, that's your own concern. They are not interested in that. It's not their responsibility. So when my turn came and I had to make a decision in choosing which dragon to go with, because eventually I had to make a choice.
So would you be able to share who the two?
Yes. So in the program, and you will see it online, I chose...
We'll put a link down below here.
Yes, Sean Gallagher and Niall O'Farrell.
Cool.
Because I thought 2 heads are better than one. In my mind, I was thinking that.
Right.
And the other dragon, even though he just asked for 45% of the business, and I would have had a controlling share, somehow I didn't choose him. Sometimes I wondered what would have happened to me if I had actually chosen that dragon, because he had a marketing firm and would have been very good, even though he didn't have a food background like the other one. Yeah, the other two. He actually had a marketing company, and with most businesses, marketing is everything. So sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had gone with him. But it's in the past.
Exactly.
The program was good for promoting my business, promoting my products. It aired in February 2010, and that was a very difficult time for Ireland. The economy had crashed in the heels of the worldwide recession. It was very difficult to sell anything at that point. A lot of people went back to basics, meat and potatoes. That's what they knew, and bread. Right? And
all carbs.
Yes. And so it was very difficult to sell unique products like Caribbean sauces. Who had the money for it? Nobody had money anymore. And so eventually I decided I had to make a change, just fold up the business, because I had distributed a lot of products through distributors who said, oh, when Dragon's Den comes out, we'll make a lot of money. So I gave products to many distributors, right? And they were not giving me any money. So I had to spend money to get the ingredients, the bottles, the labels, and all. So I put out a lot of money. And nothing was coming out.
Oh my God.
So there was a huge gap there. With no money, a gaping hole. Except when I would go to events and get cash in my hand, that's the only money that was coming in. So it didn't make sense to stay in business anymore, and I decided to make that decision and fold up the business.
So the other two never gave money?
No. What happened, I had a few meetings with them. And they wanted me to change the brand, change the products to suit themselves. And after I had worked so hard to develop my product, I decided I did not want to work with them. So I told them, thanks but no thanks. I didn't want their funding. And we parted amicably.
So what's the evolution from there to here then?
Okay. So in 2010, when the economy crashed in Ireland, people were saying, go to Canada or go to Australia. The streets are paved with gold. Fine.
Seriously?
Yes.
I have yet to see that.
These countries were not hit as badly as Ireland during the recession. That's what was portrayed in the media, radio, TV, day and night. So I thought, okay, I studied at McGill University. I was a Canadian citizen through marriage. And why not come back to Canada? My daughter was born in Canada. So we are citizens, why not come back to Canada and try? But I didn't know what I was coming back here to do. So I just showed up in Toronto. I had lived in Montreal for years, so I knew Montreal. But my daughter didn't speak French, so I decided to move to an English-speaking part of Canada. And so it was a huge risk. I had never lived in Toronto, didn't know anybody here. I just showed up. So my first year, with the entrepreneurial spirit, I had to determine what to do. Using all the skills I had developed in Ireland, all the training, how to start a business, how to run a business. So I tried many different things. I applied to teach at one of the colleges here, food science. I had some artwork and I painted more art, and I signed up for many art shows around Toronto.
You have to check her artwork. It's pretty cool.
Yes, jennylyndjames.pixels.com.
There you go. It's down below as well.
Yes. And so I put the art online. Then I couldn't get Ireland out of my head. I had so many life-changing experiences in that country from a social standpoint to, a very open society. And so I couldn't get Ireland out of my head, so I decided to write about Ireland. And I wrote my first memoir called Escape from Error. Error is Gaelic for Ireland. I've really changed the name to Escape from Ireland. I just described from the first day I landed until the day we left Ireland and all the adventures that happened, and it's an interesting read for anybody who wants to start a business, because it tells you step by step how I did it, how the business boomed, and how it failed in the end, step by step, as well as other adventures, like all the events that I did around the country. I could do tours of Ireland because I was doing my own merchandising and sales. I had a big van, and I would show up in many towns doing my own sales and merchandising. So it's quite an interesting read for people who are contemplating the plunge into starting their business. Cool. And so when I launched that book here in Toronto 2013, I was motivated to write more because my first 2 years in Toronto were quite tough. You show up with some savings and you don't have a plan. It's not an easy city. And so I decided to write about my experience coming here. It's called Goodbye Frying Pan, Hello Fire.
Love it.
Because
that is such a cool name.
Yes, and I didn't coin the name actually. A friend of mine who was living in Holland at the time, I had been calling her and telling her about my experiences. Oh, I am trying so hard, nothing's happening in this Toronto. So she said, you moved from Ireland where the economy crashed, from the frying pan into the fire.
I love it.
Because there at least I was familiar with everything. Here, zero familiarity and no friends. So that book is quite poignant, and when people read it, people who are new immigrants or people who've moved from different parts of Canada who've read it, people who've moved from rural Ontario to the city, they identify with the stories. That's what I've been told, because they've had similar experiences.
Yeah. So this is great. How do you come up with these ideas? It's fascinating.
Well, sometimes I just keep really still, which is hard to do because I have quite an active face. But I just use my talents.
Yeah.
Even if I don't know that I have this talent, when you go online, you learn how to do things. For example, publishing a book or self-publishing.
Is that how you did the books?
Yes.
Okay.
So I didn't know anything about this, but I went to 1 or 2 book fairs and people told me about platforms that they've used for
Can you share which
Yeah, so I use createspace.com, and in fact I've published 4 books now, 4 memoirs.
Cool.
I've written about, as I said, Ireland and my experiences there. I've written about moving to Toronto, which is called Goodbye Frying Pan, Hello Fire. And then I went back in time. I said, the adventures I had living and working in California.
Right.
They were amazing. I worked for Dole. They sent me to audit banana and pineapple plantations all over Central and South America.
That is so cool.
I had to write about this.
Why not?
Because
Yeah.
I had so many misadventures. I call them misadventures, like almost kind of like crashing from a plane, like a tiny plane. Many and then strange things, situations like in the middle of a jungle visiting a cantaloupe plantation and all the guards had huge rifles and people were outside. So I wrote about these things because they're fascinating. For anybody who likes travel memoirs, they would enjoy this book. It's called Red Car, Long Legs. And there's a long story behind the red car, long legs, but you'll have to read it.
You have to read the book, yeah, exactly.
Yes, and I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago. So the last memoir I wrote is called Dérivé, which in French stands for wandering, because I'm a bit of a wanderer, a gypsy.
And it's a French book?
No, but the title Dérivé, it talks about going back to my home country, Trinidad. I haven't lived there for over 25 years, so I feel like a tourist every time I go back. It's home, but I feel sometimes that I don't belong there because I've lived in so many other countries over the past 25 years. So the book is a collection of stories of going back home, like going back for my dad's funeral, taking foreign friends back to Trinidad, different occasions, Christmas, Carnival, and what it feels like to go back and situations that happen. So this book is stories like that.
Yeah. So how about now? What's keeping you busy apart from the books? And I know you're like a lot of stuff going on. What is the main kind of focus that you have?
Well, under my business name, Jennylynd James Enterprises, I've listed this business as publications, art, and consulting. Right. So I've done a little bit of consulting work for food companies and food safety auditing. Right. So that has been keeping me busy. And then I try to do as many art shows as I can to promote my paintings. I'm working on a new series of what I call royal paintings.
Ooh, exciting.
Royal portraits. So the first 2 that I've completed are actually myself and my daughter in Victorian style royal clothing.
Love that.
And I just came up with this idea around Christmas time. So the next 2 I'm working on would be my parents. And then I'll branch off to other people.
That is so
right.
Cool.
But in royal clothing, I want to do a show called Royal, where people like me see themselves as royal.
So what are the steps to go about getting into a gallery and getting into a show?
Oh well, I haven't shown at traditional galleries in Toronto. I've done shows with groups of artists, like I belong to SOIRA, the Society of York Regional Artists. They're based in Aurora. So there we would show as a group in a gallery where each artist presents 1 or 2 paintings. For my solo exhibitions, I've done work at Toronto libraries. They invite artists every year to, and so you have a whole month where your work is displayed at a library. So, right. So I've done with solo exhibitions too at small galleries like in government office buildings.
But that's
and
nice and
cafes.
intimate, though,
Yes,
right?
yes. So people who actually work in the building
Yeah.
would see my paintings, and then also there's the Queen Mother Cafe on Queen Street,
Right.
where customers come day and night, day and night.
Right.
So they also open up their place to artists for a month, and you can portray or display your work at
Right.
these facilities. So I've done quite a few group shows, at out the Riverdale Art Walk. That's
Right.
out in Leslieville area. Every year they have a show, and so artists pay to display their work for the weekend.
Nice.
So quite a few events around the GTA.
Now, how about competition? I know there's quite a bit of other artists and other book writers. How do you handle that?
Well, you can't think about it. You have to try to be unique in
Right.
your offering, because if you focus on competition, then it would cramp creativity. So being trying to offer something unique, that's what most artists strive for. I do find that in this, downtown Toronto in particular, people like abstract work, and I don't paint abstract. So, but then north of the city, people like landscapes. So even though I had started my painting with portraits, and I enjoy doing portraits,
Right.
I forced myself 3 years ago to do.
Forced.
Yes, I have to say forced, because it wasn't something that I was comfortable with. But
Right.
I did a few landscapes, and I even sold a few. So I thought, okay, I should have been
There you
doing that
go.
in the past. But it's not something that I really, I'd say, rush to do. But people who sell landscapes actually can make a living and abstract. That's what I've seen. They've been able to sell their work. So I haven't found my market yet in Toronto, and I would probably have to look elsewhere for the market.
Right.
But in the meantime, my paintings are online.
Right.
At a US run website, fineartamerica.com, and they have a worldwide audience.
Right.
So I've sold a few prints, like jazz musicians and things
Very
like that. I've
cool.
sold a few prints online,
Mm-hmm.
because they have a different market in
Right.
the United States. They really do. So I may have to look across the border with my art. I haven't tried actually going with paintings to the US. I haven't tried that yet. I know a few Toronto artists who've done it.
Yeah.
And so I'll have to ask them how
How they do
they've
it,
done it.
yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So, what other thoughts would you like to share for budding entrepreneurs? And what would be a good, what can you share?
Okay. Well, I would have to say, if one idea doesn't work, try something else. There's nothing wrong with failing. What people think is failing is actually a learning experience.
Right.
And that's what I've learned for the past, how many years now?
Right.
The past, I'd say 15 years.
Right.
You get fired from a job, find something else to do.
Right.
Right, which is what I had to do, on several occasions.
Right.
Always look at many options at the same time. I know I've met quite a few people who told me you need to be doing one thing and do it well. I disagree.
Yeah.
I disagree with that. I like to do many things at the same time. Maybe I'm crazy, but because at least have options, right? Because if something fails, you have other options
Right.
in line, So if you can focus on several things at the same time, it's not easy,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing in life is easy. If you want to have options in life, as I say, if one idea doesn't work, try something else. Yes. And don't worry about people thinking you're a failure and telling you you're a failure. Don't even listen. I don't listen to anybody.
Might be the wrong
Because-
people to talk to.
Yes.
So-
Because when I started my art enterprise, everybody, including my family, said, "What are you trying? You're not
Right.
an artist. Why are you doing that?" I said, "Because I want to.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, first of all.
Exactly.
And if you're doing something you don't enjoy, it will never work.
Exactly.
But if you're doing something that you enjoy, even if you're not making a lot of money, you're still
That's what you
happy.
like,
And
yeah.
at the end of the day, what are we striving for?
Exactly.
Happiness,
Exactly.
right? And if even a lot of money may not make you happy.
Exactly.
But doing what you like eventually could bring money, and of course, you'll feel fulfilled.
Very good. Thank you so much. I
You're
appreciate that.
welcome.
All right. Thanks a lot. See you
Okay,
later.
bye.